I thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Dr. Goodspeed, the United States is experiencing, as we've all talked about here, time and time again, record high inflation that is broad-based and hitting the wallets of my constituents in Missouri's 2nd Congressional District. Current prices are at levels not seen in 40 years. It's not just the gas prices that are 40% higher, but meat, poultry, fish, they're all 12% higher. Overall groceries entirely are up 7%. You've discussed the negative impact that the American Rescue Plan and its multi-trillion-dollar spending spree had on inflation and consumer prices. But could you explain how the Build Back Better Act, which is discussed still widely in this committee, would spend, and it spends an additional $3.5 trillion, would impact our economy and rising inflation?
Well, thank you, Congresswoman. There are a number of provisions in the Build Back Better program that I believe would exacerbate some of the supply side challenges that we've talked about before. In particular, all of those new programs have income phase-outs, which means, as to use my previous term, they're going to raise implicit marginal tax rates on work as they phase out. And furthermore, insofar as this is deficit financed, that is likely going to put upward pressure on interest rates, which is going to make borrowing costs greater for American households and possibly necessitate further action on the part of the—
So it doesn't pay for itself, does it, sir?
It certainly does not pay for itself.
Dr. Goodspeed, I know that, per usual, our colleagues across the aisle want to blame big corporations for inflation, particularly energy companies. But if we look back at history, it is global crises centered around energy that have driven up energy prices. Just look at the 1973 oil shortages. In 1979, the Iran hostage crisis. In 1990, it was the Persian Gulf War. And now, it is the Biden administration's refusal to reinstate America's energy independence by drilling an ANWR, opening up the Keystone Pipeline, ending the federal freeze on all new oil and gas projects, fast-track the pending LNG export permits, to just name a few. Dr. Goodspeed, how has the Biden administration's energy policies, or lack thereof, allowing us energy independence, impacted the prices Americans are paying in terms of gas, electricity, heating oil for their homes?
To put some perspective and quantitative perspective on this issue, at the Council of Economic Advisors, we estimated that the lower cost of energy in the United States, thanks to the shale revolution, was saving the average American household $2,500 per year on the eve of the COVID pandemic. And insofar as actions such as those you just described limit the output potential of the U.S. energy sector, that is likely to chip into that $2,500 per household. And sorry to be technical, but the elasticity of output in the United States with respect to the price of oil is about 0.02%, negative 0.02%. So that means a 10% increase in the price of oil is going to decrease U.S. output by about 0.2%. And I think what we've seen in the past few months is something quite a bit larger than 10%.
And how does a strong energy policy help our economy, by lower prices and job security to protect our country?
Well, I think that we're seeing this today with the difficulty on the part of many European capitals in terms of responding aggressively to the Russian Federation. Having domestic production capacity, in effect, serves as insurance in the event that foreign supply becomes unavailable. And one thing that we've seen is that different sources of energy are not perfect substitutes in the event of a crisis, because we can't simply ship LNG to Germany in the event that Russian gas and oil becomes unavailable.
But boy, if we could, it'd be sure a lot cleaner than the LNG they're getting from Russia, wouldn't it, sir?
That is quite true.
Yeah, it sure would be. Well, we're going to hear from the President of the United States here shortly, or he may be on right now. And finally, I think he's going to agree with the vast majority of American people, and frankly the rest of the world, that we should not be importing Putin's oil into the United States of America. We have the ability to be energy independent on our own, and we don't need this butcher's blood on our hands. Hopefully, we can open up our own energy independence, and with the drilling in ANWR, with the Keystone Pipeline, with the fracking, with the shale, all the things that you talked about to allow us to move forward energy independent on our own in a cleaner and greener way. So I thank you for your input, and I yield back.